Hello everybody, it's Larry. Welcome to today's video. And today we're going to talk about through lines and how to use through lines. And we need to go through a history of through lines because the first thing we're going to talk about is how Story Scout has broken parts of through lines, how it broke the integration with your tree with through lines, and also show you they are working on it, and then show you why it's doing it. Now, for those of you who haven't followed this channel since the beginning, the very first videos we did, one of them was on through lines. We actually were the first YouTuber to do a video on through lines. We actually did the video 2 hours before it was actually announced by Ancestry at Roots Tech. And so everybody at Roots Tech immediately went out and looked and said, hey, is there anything out there about it? And sure, we had a video on it, examining it, and people were really excited. And that's really kind of what kicked this channel off. But we noticed early on that it wasn't using our tree information, it was using other people's trees. This was in February of 2019, and in doing so, what happened was they said, well, you just need to fix your kinships. Well, the problem wasn't our kinships, and that persisted through March and into April, and finally Ancestry fixed it. And we did a video about that. Now, in the interim, we made some Band-Aid videos and workaround videos so that you could actually fool the Ancestry algorithm and get it to use your information. Okay? They didn't like that, but we had those, and finally they fixed it. Well, now the same kind of problem persists, but it's kind of an interim. It's not using other people's trees purely. It's not using your tree. It's actually using this hodgepodge of both, and it all changed last year when Story Scout was introduced. So it was released to the public. Through Lines was February 2019. And then March and April, it was using the wrong tree, using other people's trees. And then in April of 2019, they fixed it. And for 1 year, it worked perfect. But then Story Scout came out. And Story Scout, when it was introduced, and up until about a month ago, it would use other people's trees. And I wrote into Ancestry, and I gave them examples of this. And they changed it. About a month ago, it came up, and they added some changes that used, my tree information. But they still left the information from the other because I guess the justification was, well, that's part of your family story. So in doing that, it still is affecting the way Through Lines works. Now, they are working on it, and we'll show you that here in a second. So it is being tweaked constantly. So what you see from day to day, the results on your Through Lines are going to be different. And so on your tree and how it works with your tree integration is also going to be different, and that's all again because of Story Scout. The next thing we're going to talk about is how to work top down from your through lines to find the matches. We're going to talk about understanding the DNA matches, understanding what through lines is actually really showing you, but then show you how to maximize the information that you get out of it. Next, we're going to show you the list view. Many of you may not even know that this exists. We're going to show you the list view for through lines and tell you how you can use the list view to work these people out and integrate them into your tree. We're going to talk about printing list to PDF using Qt PDF. We have a video in channel, but it's way early in the channel, so you may not have ever seen it before. And we're going to verify through lines at a high level. And we're going to do a fast verification before you put on genealogical standard proofs on the information, but we're going to verify it at a high level so that you can put people in your trees and then shore up the information. So, are you ready? Let's start with how Story Scout has broken through lines. So, as I said, when it first came out, it would show the wrong person. So here's my Story Scout, and I've not done a video on Story Scout, even though it's been out almost a year now. I don't like the product fundamentally. It is broken mechanically. It's been broken mechanically. It still has mechanical flaws. Ancestry has addressed probably 7 or 8 of them that I wrote to them about, and so they are taking an active, approach to fixing it. But right now, hey, I'm just a dumb old country boy. You can buy a $10 lure to catch fish, and it catches fish left and right. You get it hung on a log, and it's not catching any more fish. And you can sit there and pull that line all you want. At some point, it's better take out the pocket knife, cut the line, put a new lure on there. It may not be as good as the other one, but it's going to work catching more fish. And that's kind of where you're at with Story Scout. You cut bait on DNA circles, it actually had value. This doesn't really have value, okay? Now, we can let people debate that internally and have internal votes and do whatever. But from a genealogical perspective, I know this is supposed to do stories, but it's broken, and it's broken the other parts of ancestry. And that's what I really have a problem with. That, and it just kind of glosses over so many other issues on the stories that it has. But see right here, this is for Clarence Edmond Brown. All right, and Clarence Edmond shows his dad, William Brown, as my grandfather. Or my great-grandfather. My second great-grandfather is Moses Parks. And that's what it brought in for 8 months. And I wrote to him, I said, listen, it's bringing in, junk, but it's bringing in junk about wrong people. And so they did address this, and within the last month, they came out with a fix, an update, and now it brings in John Brown. John Brown is my person. All right, so if we look, my tree has John Brown. It's clearly here, John Brown. The fact that it brings in Moses Parks as the father of William Brown, it makes no sense to me whatsoever. It's still there, and I guess it's being justified as saying, well, that's part of William Brown's life story. Yeah, okay, that's pretty much a stretch to cover up a mistake of saying, hey, I brought in the wrong person because I was using other people's trees. And, what it did is it came up here, and on the 1880 census, the other person had Moses Parks listed as the biological father. And because they did, they used this census. It said Moses Parks, Nancy Parks, and even though William Brown, okay, so you see here's a William Parks, and then you go on there, there's a William Brown, it shows clearly that William Brown is a stepson. And it should have been listed right there. There's William A. Brown, and it says that he's a stepson. But the other person in their tree, even now, lists them as the biological son of Moses Parks. And because of that, Thrulines brings in Moses Parks. Then because of my tree, I have John Brown as the biological father, so it brings in John Brown. So now William Brown has two biological parents, but it's being left there. They're saying, well, Moses Parks was a stepdad, so while they had what happens when they have the totally wrong person? Okay, so that's broken. That's broken in so many ways. It's a fundamental logic error. It's a genealogical error, and it's affecting other parts of the site in particular. All right, so let's just show it. You remember a video we did just the last couple of weeks. We showed you that Otis and Martha, neither one had a DNA match like the rest of them here. Well, now Martha does, and Martha's ancestors do up to this point, okay? They show, through lines. That's good. That's what this little icon is, the DNA. All right, click this DNA button. It shows this little through lines. Otis still does not. Now, what's interesting is it broke Senna. Senna had hers all up in here, with Egbert being a DNA match and James being a DNA match, Martha, Papsy, Bibbs, and even Samuel and all these, they were DNA matches. They're no longer DNA matches. Okay? So while they're in my tree, Throughline says, hey, Egbert, potential match for you. James, potential match for you. Martha Bibbs, potential match. Henry, potential match. All because they're still trying to force this logic over here. And the reason is it's dealing with the remarriages. Now, they are addressing this, it appears, because see right here, there's Otis and Martha. Otis has multiple marriages, but Martha had one. She married Otis, and then she died. Okay? And then Otis was married several times. Because he was married several times, he doesn't have that through lines match. Egbert was married several times. All right? Now, my ancestor, just like this Martha Emma Carter, okay, is Elizabeth, J.C. Harris. It's actually J.C. N. Harris. She's married several times, which is ironic. You get a through lines for her, but that's because there's only one that have made the connection to Egbert, okay? The others connected to either Harris or the others and don't even have the Fitzhugh in their family trees, so it was nothing to break it. So she shows up, which is really, really ironic. But Egbert, because of the documented multiple marriages by the descendants of the multiple children, it breaks it. And so I'll give you an example of that. Here's another person, and there's Egbert, but their person married to Egbert is Margaret White, and they're through Margaret Angeline. Well, when I come through, my Egbert is married to Elizabeth. we'll show all this, and then to Senna. So because there's the multiples, it doesn't show the through lines. And again, that all comes because we had Moses Parks, and it was bringing it in because of other people's trees. And then we said, we'll bring this one in because it's your trees too. Well, when we got over here, we tried to say, okay, we're not going to bring it in from the other people's trees. So, we don't have the other person here, but by the same token, we're not giving it the through lines, even though it is in your tree. So it's closer. We got Martha Ann back with her ancestors. We still don't have Otis, which is clearly there because he had multiple marriages to Martha and to Fanny. And then Senna had, her dad, Egbert, had multiple marriages, so he doesn't show up, and neither do his ancestors. When there's only one marriage, or there's only one, clear, like Elizabeth, there's only one clear line down from Elizabeth, and that was to Senna, then it works fine. But if there's multiples, then it messes up. All right, so that's the Story Scout, and I said I'd talk about the Story Scout in there, and I wanted to go over that and say, when we talk about through lines, you're going to get a variety of results, and these results are going to change periodically. Again, I can't reemphasize enough, Martha was there for the first year between February 2019, and Otis was there from February 2019 until April of 2020 when they brought out Story Scout. Then neither one of them had through lines. Just in this last month, in January of 2021, Martha McCarter and her ancestors have come back, but I did also lose the ancestors for Senna Fitzhugh as it still tries to iron this shirt. So imagine the problems that they're dealing with. They got this shirt on the ironing board. They'd go and there's a wrinkle over here, and they come back. Oh no, the wrinkle over there now, and they're going back and forth trying to get rid of these wrinkles. Cut bait on it. You cut bait on DNA circles, and it had genealogical value. Story Scout, it doesn't provide me really any stories. Let me just speak to that real quick, and it'll be probably the only thing I do on Story Scout. All right, so here it is. Clarence Edmond Brown's family. Clarence Edmond Brown, grandfather, on the job in 1930. Clarence Edmond Brown, grandfather. Clarence Edmond Brown. Clarence Edmond Brown, in case you didn't know who it was yet. A worker in 1930 is your grandfather. On the work in 1930. Clarence Edmond, working in 1930. Offers a snapshot of your grandfather's life in 1930. On the outset of the 1930s, your grandfather earned money as a laborer. And then it gives me 2 sentences and asks me if I want to share it. Then, this is one of my favorites, you actually here, you click right to go back. Now, browsers, even here, we click left and right to go, backwards and forwards. So, but not here. Here you click left, and it'll take you left. But if you want to go back, you go up here to the right and click backwards. It's the only product I know in the entire world that you click right to go backwards. And then, like I said, it brings in the wrong people to boot. And then here, again, Moses Parks, second great grandfather, occupation in 1870. And again, I'm just going to regurgitate Moses Parks, second great grandfather, Moses Parks, Moses Parks. Like you didn't see it, like Moses Parks, Moses Parks, Moses Parks. Your second great grandfather was hard at work when industries were experiencing change in 1870. And it's just the same repetitive stuff with very little value add, almost no value add that's not in life stories on a profile page. And to be honest, because the profile page uses my stuff, it doesn't bring in the wrong family members. It also has photos, has a map, has all sorts of cool stuff. And just so you can see that right here, here's William Alexander's. Here's the life story. This is what was replaced with Story Scout. Look at this. I got this information. I've got a tree right here that I can expand. I've got where he lived, a map of his locations. I've got the family members, all the family members that were born, pictures if I have them in the tree. Here's his half-brother, Bedford with the picture, all the others. So I get all this information. I still get the same stories of things that were going on in that time period. There's the World War I one, and then residence, where he died, where he's buried, and then in many cases it gives you the family search ID number. So Life Story is still far, far superior than Story Scout. And most importantly, Life Story, because it's separate, doesn't integrate into this and screw things up. This has been messed up since Story Scout came out. and we're now working on it. If we just went back to the code that we had fixed and before Story Scout was introduced into the public domain, then all of these would have their through lines, including the Fitzhughs and Otis and his ancestors as well. It wouldn't be broken. So there's your hint for that. All right, the next thing we said we'd talk about was working top down on through lines, and careful to work with the right node, and that's really important. So we're going to go to through lines now, and I said to work top down. So we're going to go out. A lot of people like go out to the farthest ancestor in a line. So here's Sarah Sally Crump Mead. She has 78 DNA matches of mine. 78. Now, there's a couple of important things we want to make note of here. One, this is the kinship. These matches are to and through Sarah Mead. I'm going to say that again. These are matches through and into Sarah Mead. So I connect to this person through Sarah, to them through Sarah, and them to Sarah. 75 matches under Martha Bibbs connect to Sarah and to one or more of these people, and maybe some others. They may connect to some that I don't. But 75 connect to Sarah Mead and to these people. Now, Ancestry only shows down to 8 centimorgans. Here's 8. There's 9. There's 13. This is barely. And I mean barely. Now, if you remember the last video we did with the ball and pattern, here it is. And you can see on the blue it says me, and then above that's parents, grandparents, great, second great, third great. So at the very top of the triangle is the third great grandparents. And if you go down the right-hand side, you see where it says 13 and 6. So if you have a single connection, that's 6 centimorgans, which is below the 8. And if it's a dual, it's 13. All right? So that means that if you're there, you have the expectation of, if they're a dual MRCA, you probably will have a DNA match with that person. And if it's a single line, you probably won't. But think about this. When we're looking over here on through lines, Sarah Mead is my 5th great-grandmother, okay? 5th great-grandmother. That's far above this third great-grandparent level. That's 2 more levels above. So the expectation is there will be very few, if any, matches at that level. Well, the fact that I have 3 is actually pretty good. And again, these 3 are barely 8, with the bottom line being 8, and it's 9 with the bottom line being 8, and 13, which is only 5 above the 8. That is as barely as it gets. That's also why through lines only goes out to the 5th great-grandparent, because beyond this, you really shouldn't have any expectations of usability on the matches, okay? Now, the next thing, people look at this and they say, oh, there's 75 matches. Why don't I see 50 matches here, 50 matches here, 50 matches here? Because they have to have their matches. Well, they do, but these matches don't all go through Sarah Mead. If they did, they would expand out, all right? So these people come up through and to Sarah Mead and down to 75 matches. So how many matches does Martha Patsy Bibbs have to me? Is it 75? The answer is no, that's not right. And that's why I said what we have to do is we have to be careful to work with the right node. All right, work with the right node. So here was Sarah. All right, we're going to go down to her daughter, and we're going to go to Martha Patsy Bibbs. All right, there she is, Martha. 104 matches. Not 75, 104. So the question is, well, Larry, why is there 104? You just showed 75. Well, those 75, remember I said it's real important to understand what through lines is showing you. It's showing you the people that connect up to and through to those other people through Sarah Mead. Now, these are the people that connect up to and through Martha Bibbs. Well, there's 29 more people that connect to Martha Bibbs because the DNA drop-off between that 4th and 5th great-grandparent, okay, it's stronger here. So we've got stronger matches. So we've got more people matched here. So Martha being my 4th great-grandparent, there's 104 matched through here. All right? Now here, Egbert is 59. But if we went back over to the top level and we went back down to Sarah, apologize for the scroll here, we're going to go back under Martha, and we're going to see Egbert. See here it says Egbert has 44. So we would have thought that Martha had 75 and Egbert 44, but really Martha has 104 and Egbert has, let's go up to Egbert now. Egbert has 60. Okay, so there's 60 through line matches. So when we work with through lines and we're working with a person, while there's a tendency to start at the very top, the furthest out grandparents, and work your way down and work the lines and iron them out, you can't really do it that way. You have to make sure that you work, like it says here in number 2, careful to work top down from the right node. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is using the list view, and this is a great tool. If you're not using it now, you probably will after today. So right here, Egbert Fitzhugh has four children: Harvey R, Margaret A, Egbert A, and Senna F. Okay, 4 kids. Now, my apologies here. I'm going to flip through this really fast. You're going to get lost. But the whole purpose of this demonstration is to lose you, so don't feel bad. We're going to lose you, and then I'm going to show you how to make it clean. All right? So if I was to look under, let's say, Harvey, and Harvey has 17 matches, and you get all these people. So I pull up here. There's these 3 over here. But if I want to then build the tree down here, I might lose some of those over there. Well, if I click on those 4, it's here. So I have to do the drop down, and there's multiple siblings over here, multiple siblings over here. And so it gets really tough to track all the siblings and all the people. And that's just for here. If I go back up to Egbert and then come back down another one, I've got the same problem under another tree. All right? So I come up here and I click it. It closes this one. And this becomes really challenging. All right. So was that fun? We flipped through there. Did I lose you? I hope so, because that's the important part of this next one. See right here where it says relationship. This is your relationships. It's a tree, okay? Shows the relationships. But see right here, right next to it where it says list. If you click on list, remember there's 4 children here. Here are the 4 children: Harvey, Margaret Angeline, Egbert A, and Senna Francis. Harvey R, Margaret A, Egbert A, and Senna Francis. So Harvey R was Harvey Richard. Margaret A was Angeline. Egbert A, it doesn't have his name in there. All right, so now remember when we flipped over here to our Harvey and we bounced around all these people? Well, if I come up here to the list view and here's Harvey, there's 17 matches that were under Harvey. And here they all are in one nice, neat little list, organized from the highest centimorgan on down. All right, now if you're going to expand all of them, I recommend to always do it from the bottom up, because it pushes them down like this, and so you can open them all up without causing the confusion. Because if you open them the other way, then you've got to open it and then scroll down, and then open it and again scroll down. So it's much easier if you work bottom up always. All right, and that's just kind of the universal truth when you're dealing with long lists at Ancestry. All right, so this is really handy for verifying the relationships. So see the relationship icon and the list icon. All right, so we have Harvey. The first thing we want to do in validating these for our tree is we're going to want to verify each one of these are the kids. But in order to do that, let's say that once I do that, I want to work down. I want to come to this list. I'm going to open it. Okay, and I said the next thing we're going to talk about is how to use the list view and printing the list to PDF. So what I do on mine is I can do Control P for print, and it brings up the printer page. Now you may have your printer here, but see what the name of mine is? Cute PDF Writer. If you will search Google for Cute PDF, and it will give you the PDF driver. I've made it my default printer because it becomes a printer driver. And anything I now print, it immediately prints it to a PDF. See right here, it's printing. This normally would be going to a printer, using ink, using paper, and in this case, it's not going to do it. It's going to create me a PDF file, and I can put this PDF in my Family Tree Maker media or in my Ancestry media, or I can later, I can just put it in a folder and then later print it and work from that list. See right here, it says Thrulines for Egbert.pdf, and file type is PDF, so I'm going to save it. I've already saved it. So here we have the PDF. Now, if I were to print this, I can now check them off as I work with them. Now, the great thing about working from the list like this and working top down is you're going to be able to add blocks of people together in chunks. All right, let me show you what I'm talking about. All right, so we came, we said we were going to do Egbert, so let's go back up here to Egbert. And Egbert has his 4 children, all right? And so what I want to do is I'm going to do a search for Egbert. So I've got his information there. I'm going to click on his profile and, do a search for Egbert. All right, so I'm come up here and I've got 2 search results for Egbert, 2 different people. This is B.D. Smith's stuff and this is Alfredo's stuff. All right, so we're going to come here. Now look at the 1870 census. That's going to be our key one, because when we looked here, they were born in 1862, 1865, 1866, and this one says 1866. So we come here, we click on that 1870 census. All right, when I do that, Ancestry will block those all together and show the lines for the people. All right, so what I want to do is I want to validate Harvey, Margaret, Egbert, and Senna. So there's Harvey, Margaret, Egbert A, Albert, we know now, and Senna. All right, are all right here in the 1870 census. I can pull this up. All right, now a lot of people have Senna as Lenny, and that's because when you come in here and see how it says Lenny Fitzhugh, when they digitized it, they saw this as an L, but you can clearly see, if I trace this out, it's clearly an S, and then E-N-Y. All right, so it's definitely Senna. Now, that's why you can't just trust the names over here, Lenny, and then right here, the Egbert. Well, looky here. It looks like M-E-E-L-I-C-I, Malisi, and it says I-C-I. Right here, Malisi, but it's only got 1 E instead of 2. And then here, Egbert, the T's not crossed, but this helps you read that. Lenny, it's actually Senny. Now, this one was a little harder to read. It looked like I thought a P at first, coming down and across a P, and then I thought this was actually part of the other word. But when I saw Jacob over here, I'm like, oh, that's a J, and it comes up Jacob. So these are useful to help decipher these. Never trust these on their own. You're going to want to look over here. And the truth is, the spelling here, it says Senny, S-E-N-Y, but all the documents show it Senna, S-E-N-A, Senna. So everything else, shows her Senna. So I've got the 1870. Now what's interesting here, and this goes back to the whole part we talked about with Story Scout, notice that Egbert was married to Matilda. And Matilda had, these 4 children and their descendants. And notice that Matilda died in 1856, all right? Now, the last child born in 1855. Now, Margaret was 18 years old, gave birth to Lecedurus, and he was born in 1860. She died in 1860, so a good chance that she died during childbirth, and then he remarried again, Elizabeth Nard. And that was her name at that time. She was married like 5 or 6 times. Now, my ancestor was Senna Francis Fitzhugh, all right, under Elizabeth. But that other person, that we saw the tree for, they were under Margaret Angeline. And Margaret Angeline shows here. And we come up in there, they said, Margaret White. And then Margaret White was Margaret A. So Margaret White, let's go Margaret White being here, and they have a Margaret Angeline in their tree right here under Margaret White. Margaret White died in 1861. Margaret Angeline was born in 1865. So if I look at the other ones, Margaret Angeline shows with Elizabeth Nard. And so this person, they're actually, Alfredo, should actually have Elizabeth Nard here instead of Margaret White. Now, when we looked over here at Senna, notice here it says Elizabeth J.C. Harris, and it has through lines for her. No parents or anything, but it has through lines for her. The reason there, Egbert doesn't get that because of multiples, because it conflicts with what he had with Margaret White. Now, if he were to fix his, mine would work. And this one probably wouldn't, because of the way it's working right now. So it's kind of this hodgepodge. You never know what you're going to get. And that's because we're trying to chase 2 different logic tails with one dog. So it's kind of going all over the place. Don't you love these country anagram analogies? All right. So the fast verifying of through lines at the high level, what that is we're talking about, go up, find the children of Egbert. There's the 4 children, and then find the first census after they were born. Click on the census, and you can either pull it up or you can use Ancestry's deal, which really nicely links each one of them into the census and shows that they're there. All right. Well, that's it in a nutshell. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Through-lines, I'm giving it a little bit of grief, but don't take it badly. I mean, I still think it's one of the greatest tools since sliced bread that we've had for genealogy. It's really a great tool. The problem with it, here's that Elizabeth Jane Churchill Fitzhugh Nard Harris. She was married a lot. The problem that I have with it is I have Otis Jasper Boatman in my tree, and he's a potential ancestor in Throughlines, as are all of the ancestors there. And Martha Ann was, but not anymore, and that's because, like I said, Martha was married one time to Otis, but Otis was married several times to Martha and Fanny. Same thing up here. Egbert was married several times to the different women that we listed, the 4 different wives, but each one had one set of kids with him. So from them to him, it's one, but from him out, it's multiples. And because of that, the logic, the chasing two tails here, makes the through lines not work. And it all stems from back over here where we're pulling in other people's stuff and trying to make it work along with both. And then because we're integrating it with everything, and we're also integrating it in the other stuff. We've integrated Story Scout over into our DNA story. It's integrated everywhere. And they're really pushing hard right here. 2 possible ancestor stories found. Here's the ancestor stories that it found. There's the William A. Brown. I can read his story and pull in that his father was Moses Parks right here from my ethnicity report page. So I get right from my ethnicity report, I go right straight to the bustedness. Don't you love it? All right. But again, I love, through lines. It's a great tool, but you have to understand, what it's telling you. So when you come down here to Sarah Mead, and it says 78 relationships, 78 DNA matches, and 75 through Martha Bibbs. When we go to Martha Bibbs, when we get up to, did I pass Martha Bibbs? When we go to Martha Bibbs, we have to make sure we use hers because it's got 104, not 75. We have to make sure we use the right node. Don't forget, use list view to work out these nodes. You can expand them all like that, but remember always to open from the bottom up. That way it doesn't push your page out. And the last thing is printing to PDF. Get you cute PDF writer, and then you can print them all to PDF and work back and forth. Use this view to find out the kids, and then you can go to the next level and you can find out who are the kids of this person and find that one census that was, this is 1844, 45, 49, 57, 59. So find an 1850 for these and an 1860 for these, and just with 2 censuses, you can verify all 4. Okay? So that can be real handy for that. And then, lastly, just do the search and find the data and document your tree. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, subscribe. Don't forget to click the bell notification. And consider becoming a member, an ongoing supporter of the channel. It's because of supporters like you, we're able to keep going. And so please consider doing that if any of the videos here help you. I think the list view is going to help you quite a bit. The cute PDF is going to help a lot of people, and really just understanding the current status of through lines and understanding how it's integrating with the other Ancestry products, particularly into the tree view, because I know that I talk about using the tree view for everything and working out of here because it's so much nicer. I can click here and do a search right from there, and it brings in all that information immediately. So working from the tree view is something that you definitely want to be doing, but you can see that it doesn't give you all the information like it used to, and that began happening back when Story Scout was let out. Hopefully they'll fix that. Hopefully they'll cut bait on that like they did DNA circles, but I have a feeling it's going to be around for a while. So until they decide to cut bait, then we're probably going to watch this as they code it back and forth for the next months or years until they get that ironed out. You know, I don't know. Is the value of this giving me the wrong information over here really worth the time, trouble, effort, and money over here that's going to take to fix these? Is it really? I mean, I really have to ask myself that question. Hopefully Ancestry will ask themselves that question. I know what I would do if I were in charge on that, but hey, it is what it is. All right, that's Through Lines in a way you've never seen it before. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you again soon.